Witcher 3 has a way of taking fairy tales and flipping them over their heads, changing the colorful and happy world of the fairy tales into dark, brutally honest reality. No happy endings for Witcher universe, and the story of the Toad Prince is no exception. It's particularly sad story as everyone involved in it is, in a way, a victim. The story revolves around many lives ruined due to the bad luck or bad decisions. First, let me tell you the story and then we'll get to the other parts later. Prince Servet, a noble and curious soul, set out on a grand tour of the northern kingdoms. His mission? To learn as much as possible about the continent before taking on his royal duties. During his travels, Servet arrived in Redania, where he met and fell deeply in love with a young noblewoman named Iris. Her parents were thrilled with this match and quickly supported the idea of their union. But there was complications. Iris was already in a relationship with Olgierd von Everec, a nobleman who had recently fallen into poverty. When Iris's parents decided to proceed with marrying her to Servat, Olgierd's jealousy and anger knew no bounds. In a fit of rage, Olgierd unintentionally cursed Prince Servat, transforming him into a monstrous creature. Banished to the sewers of Oxenfurt, Servat's venom began to contaminate the city's water supply, causing widespread illnesses. By 1272, the situation had become so severe that Royal Redanian army had to close the sewers and investigate the source of contamination. Growing bored of Servat's suffering, Olgierd decided to end it. Instead of seeking to lift the curse, he hired the witcher Geralt of Rivia to kill the creature in the sewers. Unaware of this monster's true identity, Geralt accepted the task. In the dark, damp tunnels beneath Oxenfurt, Geralt confronted the beast. After a fierce battle, Geralt defeated the creature only to discover that it was a cursed prince. The prince's tragic end served as a grim reminder of the destructive power of jealousy and the importance of understanding the true nature of those we seek to destroy. This is the basic story, but there is much more to it. First, let's talk about Servat. He was one of the unluckiest people in The Witcher. He was an Ofirian prince, and a good one at that. He decided to travel the world to learn and to be a good ruler. Pretty noble thing to do, but he ran out of luck when he visited Oxenfurt. Not my channel, of course, but the city. He fell in love with Iris, Olgierd's beloved, there in Oxenfurt. Olgierd and Iris were to get married, but before that happened, Olgierd's family lost its assets, falling from nobility into poverty. So Iris's family no longer wanted her to marry Olgierd. And then the Ofir prince showed up, and everything changed. Olgierd, out of desperation, cursed the prince, but not intentionally. He didn't want to turn Servat into a monster. He just shouted out of pain and despair, through his heart. And that shows the purity of love he had for Iris. And Servat was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, seeing the wrong girl. And even worse, the person who cursed him and turned him into a monster didn't really intended to do so. And that's how unlucky the noble prince was. The other parties involved, Iris and Olgierd, were not that much different. Iris died out of loneliness, or as the demon dog and cat put it, her heart simply burst. And Olgierd lost everything he fought for. I'm not gonna go into details about that as he has his own video. The Toad Prince contaminated the water, and as a result a lot of people got sick, but they were not the only victims. After Redania closed the sewers to stop the contamination, the Toad Prince got new voluntary victims, romantic women. But why would someone go down to the dangerous, dirty sewers to see a dangerous monster who could kill her? Well, the answer lies in the origin of the Toad Prince's story, the Frog Prince. Once upon a time, in a faraway kingdom, there lived a beautiful princess who loved to play with her golden ball. One day, while playing near a pond, she accidentally dropped the ball into the water. Distraught, she began to cry. Suddenly, a frog emerged from the pond and offered to retrieve the ball for her, but only if she promised to be his friend and let him live in the palace. Desperate to get her ball back, the princess agreed, thinking the frog's request was a joke. The frog retrieved the ball, and the princess ran back to the palace, forgetting her promise. That evening, the frog arrived at the palace and reminded the princess of her promise. Reluctantly, she let him in and allowed him to eat from her plate and sleep on her pillow. The next morning, the princess woke up to find that the frog had transformed into a handsome prince. He explained that he had been cursed by a wicked witch and that only the kindness of a princess could break the spell. The princess and the prince fell in love and lived happily ever after. And that's why they did it, believing in a fairy tale, wanting to live happily ever after, thinking they could be the one who breaks the curse, and as a result, we see all those female corpses down there in the sewers. Life is no fairy tale, and The Witcher makes sure you understand it.
The legends of the Toad Prince had always fascinated me. They spoke of a cursed prince, trapped in a monstrous form, waiting for someone brave enough to break the spell. Driven by the curiosity and a sense of adventure, I decided to seek him out. The sewers of Oxenfurt were dark and foreboding, but I pressed on, guided by the tales I'd heard. As I ventured deeper, the air grew thick with the smell of decay, and the sound of dripping water echoed around me. Finally, I saw him. A massive, grotesque toad, with eyes that seemed to hold a glimmer of humanity. I approached cautiously, my heart pounding with a mix of fear and excitement. But then he lunged at me with a speed I hadn't anticipated. His powerful limbs pinned me down, and I felt the cold, slimy touch of his skin. Panic surged through me as I struggled to break free, but it was no use. The legends had not prepared me for this. As his venom seeped into my veins, I felt my strength ebb away. My vision blurred, and the world around me faded into darkness. My last thought was a fleeting regret for chasing myths that should have remained in the shadows. The Toad Prince's curse claimed another victim, and the sewers of Oxenfurt kept their deadly secret.
And with that, this video comes to an end. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more Witcher content.